Hello everyone and welcome back to another week of the Backlog Bunker. Since the Nintendo Direct was so absolutely massive this week, I'm just gonna make the weekly topic the entire thing for this week, because the things I played otherwise were actually pretty short, so I'm just gonna save them for next week's talk, and this week it's gonna be entirely the Nintendo Direct, starting with Mario Kart World. And as some people may know about me, I'm a bit of a cynical bastard, so I don't think I was like necessarily hyped for Mario Kart 9. I was just like, yeah, let's just get Mario Kart 8 out of here. Whatever it'll be next, it'll be more of whatever's good about Mario Kart. But I was wrong, because Mario Kart World absolutely blew the fuck out of my expectations. Things like the rail grinding and the wall jumping are like the things that I think are perfect for Mario Kart, because they give you more to consider. That's the thing I've always disliked about Mario Kart 8, is that it is a very solid kart racer, but once you know what to do, it's not like it really expands from that point. It's just don't get hit with items and shit like that. But having there be multiple paths that actually mean something, and it's not just like, hey, go along this ramp and it'll make you anti-gravity. It doesn't even mean anything. The actual practice of going on a different route because you want to do something, just giving that consideration is what I want from Mario Kart. And I think that World, at least as far as I can tell, I don't know how it'll actually control, but World, from what I can tell, is the perfect like actual cross-section of that. It'll be something to give you something to consider, but it's not going to be like, you know, fucking Sonic Riders tech, which, trust me, I will be coming back to. The soundtrack is absolutely awesome. I really want to get my hands on the song that was playing in the trailer, because it's really fucking good. It's got a fucking harmonica in it. It's awesome. But unfortunately, it's either going to be one of two things. Either we'll get it put on the Nintendo Music app like 3 months from now, and I'll have to wait until then to even kind of be able to hear it in high quality, or I'll have to wait for someone to upload a shitty version of it onto YouTube before eventually a year from now someone uploads a high quality version that doesn't have any extra bullshit in it. Then the two things that surprised me were the extra modes. The first being the mode where it's like, oh, you have to keep going, and then if you're far behind, you just get eliminated. It reminds me a lot of the Cannonball Run, like, concept that's used in a lot of things, and having the Cannonball Run in Mario Kart is beyond peak. It's a mode that actually elevates the whole concept of playing Mario Kart that I think the battle modes have kind of failed at for a long time. I'm a little bit worried about how it works out logistically, because if you're playing on the couch and one of your friends is in last, do they just not get to play for the next like 5 laps while they have to watch you play the rest of the game? And then online, is it like Fortnite, where you get kicked out and then you just hop into another game? Or do you have to watch everyone else play before you can fucking leave? But otherwise, I'm super excited for it, and that's probably gonna be what I spend most of my time on in the game, if I ever actually get to it, which again, we will get back to. Then the thing that truly surprised me was the open world mode, because I'm no fan of open worlds. I think that they're all pretty terrible. But the idea of Mario Kart having a really well-designed world that's not even like, it doesn't have a purpose. You're not supposed to like go and find 50 billion Korok seeds. It's just, hey, you want to go explore the worlds, see more of the tracks without having a race on them, or just fucking drive around with your friends for fun? Hey, go do that. It sounds awesome. It sounds cool. It sounds fun. My problem with open worlds has always come down to how they're integrated into like the main games that they're in, but this isn't part of the main game. This is a side mode that you can just do for fun whenever you feel like it, and that's like the perfect way to do it. As I mentioned earlier, I want to come back to the rail grinding, and that's because it reminds me a lot of what I would want in a Sonic Riders game. I would want in a Sonic Riders game for a more complex kart racer than you would get from most games, but that still has a Sonic flair to it, doing cool things like rail grinding or wall jumping. But instead, we're not getting that. We're getting Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, which is not Sonic Riders. Even if they want to trick you into believing that it is because it has hoverboards in it, it's not going to be. They're not going to do anything different. They're going to be like the bikes in Mario Kart, where they just control a little bit differently. You're not going to be playing Air Riders in a completely different game. Sonic Bros, I know we love coping, but you gotta stop this, man. I've seen way too many people be like, oh, the hoverboards weren't in the beta, they'll save the game. But have you ever considered what it would look like if you're wrong about that? To get people hyped up for the return of Riders, only for it to be Sonic Racing Cross Worlds? Have you ever thought about maybe just trying to not hype people up too much? And listen, I know it's not your fault. You're not the one who put the hoverboards in the trailer. That was Sega. But at some point, you just have to put your feet down and say, hey, maybe this one's not going to be as good as Mario Kart. Because from everything that I see from Mario Kart and everything that I see from Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, Mario Kart looks like the infinitely better game, which is not something I always would have said about the two, because Sonic All-Stars Racing Transformed was just the better racing game between it and Mario Kart 8 at the time. But Team Sonic Racing sucked, and this game is based on Team Sonic Racing. There are only 2 things that Sega can do to make Sonic games as fun as Mario Racing games, which is to either do Riders, where it's cool and it's different from Mario Kart, it's just it's the F-Zero of Sonic Racing games, or they do the All-Stars thing where it's a big crossover. It has more novelty than just being a pretty good kart racer, which All-Stars Racing Transformed just was. It was a really good racing game. That's not to mention the fact that I just think Crossroads just wasn't very fun when I played it, but I don't think that really needs expanding upon because this has always been just about Sonic fans coping, which is a thing that they do a lot. But to be more positive about the whole thing, I am really excited to play Mario Kart World eventually, which we will get back to at the end of this video. The next thing in the Direct was simultaneously less and more exciting than I thought it was going to be. More exciting in the fact that I didn't think Nintendo was going to do it, but they actually implemented like an in-game game chat thing, and it has a lot of novelty that I think would be pretty useful for people who don't have computers, and then on top of that don't have capture cards. But also less exciting because I am someone who has a computer and I have a capture card. So if I wanted to get into a call and screen share my Nintendo games to my friends, I would just hook my Switch up to the capture card and then stream that shit on Discord. So ultimately I'm pretty lukewarm on the whole thing. Am I glad that it exists for people who don't have the things that I have? Of course. But I'm not gonna get any use out of them, so what am I supposed to be excited about? The most impact this has had on me is that I remember seeing on Twitter, I have no idea who tweeted it because it's lost the ether at this point, but someone on Twitter was like, oh yeah, the C button, it'll be a call Luigi button, and like, yeah, it was. I could call my friend Luigi and stream my Mario Kart World gameplay to him. By far the most exciting thing from the entire Direct for me was download play, because the download play is like the pinnacle of what made the DS and the 3DS so fucking good. If you wanted to play a multiplayer game with your friends, they could play a pared down version of the game, but they could play it with you and they didn't have to have the game. For some games, it didn't even really make a difference. Like, oh, you can only play Shy Guy in Mario Kart? Damn, that sucks. I can still play fucking Mario Kart. It feels more and more like multiplayer games are a bit of a lost art nowadays. So whenever a good multiplayer game does come around, like Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics, it feels really shitty to have so many of the experiences cut out of the game because I can't justify to my friends, each of them buying a $50 game that they might play every so often. I say all that to say, this is fucking awesome, and download play should have been here from the start. We're one step closer to being as good a handheld as the 3DS, but we're still waiting for Street Pass, so clock's ticking. And I did joke to some people that the Nintendo Switch 2 would have a quality of life feature, but not every quality of life feature. Like, if we got download play, we weren't gonna get themes or whatever else people have been asking for from the Switch, and so far, I'm kinda right. I'm not gonna go over all the new specs that the Nintendo Switch 2 has. To put it simply, they're all really good. There are a few things in there that I think are kind of embarrassing to not have had on the system at launch, or even on an improved version, like the OLED. Are you telling me that during playtesting of the original Nintendo Switch, no one thought the SL and SR buttons were too fucking small on those Joy-Cons? Bullshit. If it weren't for just how many new features the Switch 2 had, this would very much be in competition for, hey, this is just a new Nintendo 3DS. As much as I understand having remastered versions or DLC to previous games that are like, hey, this is for the Nintendo Switch 2, it very much comes across to me like a Last of Us remastered kind of situation. Can you really justify to people having to ask them to spend money on the games that they already own just so they can get slightly better versions on the Switch 2? Bullshit. I think they really should just make these things free and you can only access them if you're on a Switch 2, especially since you really want people buying the console and then playing their old games on it, considering that buying new games on it is a bit of a contentious topic right now, which we will get back to. The wheelchair basketball Rocket League game confuses me for two reasons. For one, because I'm surprised they would actually just casually be like, yeah, it's a wheelchair game. but also because I think it's kind of weird to try to justify to people like, hey, here are the mouse control things to the Nintendo Switch. Make sure you have a surface to play this entire game on, though, because if you don't have a nice spacious table to play this on, you're shit out of luck. Most people do not play games the way that I do, at their desk with their computer, where I can just move my keyboard and mouse out the way to be able to have an entire desk to play a game like this on. Most people are playing on their couch, but they don't have a perfectly flat surface to just plop their ass down on in front of to play a wheelchair game. They don't have a perfectly flat surface when they're out and about playing on their Switch 2, which means they just can't use the mouse controls like that at all. Are the mouse controls for the Switch 2 cool? Yes, but I think they're gonna have a really hard time selling this to anybody, especially third-party developers, because they can't make an entire game based around this. People are going to be playing their Switch 2s on the fucking bus, and no one's gonna plop their ass down to use their Switch 2 as a mouse on the bus. However, for Axis, I did see you advertising Civilization 7 on the Switch 2 with a mouse. If you go back and update XCOM 2 for the Switch, maybe I won't sell my game. So now the only things left to talk about are the games, and the thing that everybody's talking about. But games first. For one, Hyrule Warriors kind of pisses me off, because this is twice now that we've gotten a Zelda game with no fucking story in it, or a really good concept of a story that just doesn't expand on it at all, and then got a Warriors game that tried to be like, hey, here's a story that you wanted, it should have been the actual game, but fuck you, it's here, in a Warriors game. But I know your tricks now, Nintendo, and you can't trick me with a non-canon game that's kind of the story of the game that I actually wanted. This will almost certainly sell fantastically because people love Tears of the Kingdom, and again, people want more from this story, so people are just going to get desperate and be like, yeah, but it's there though. But who knows, with how much these Nintendo Switch games are costing, maybe people will learn their lesson this time, but we will get back to that. GameCube games, that's cool. I'm still not getting Nintendo Switch Online. If I want to play GameCube games, I have other options. And I don't mean emulation, by the way. I have an original Wii, so I actually can play GameCube games on it. It doesn't mean that I will be doing that, just that I can do it officially if I wanted to. I'm a little bit surprised that some shovelware bullshit like Survival Kids made it into a Nintendo Direct trailer, but hey, whatever works, I guess. You're gonna need something to sell the Switch 2 on launch day. Enter the Gungeon 2 saddens me because I think that game looks butt ugly. I think it is disgusting looking. That game looked way better in pixel art. And also, maybe the camera was just placed weirdly for the trailer, but it looked like it was really, really up your asshole, and just like not fun to look at all, which again, is made worse by the fact that the game looks ugly and is in 3D for some reason, but the camera was also just weird. You did it, Silksong fans. You managed to not go insane the entire time. I'm proud of you, champ. I still think Metroidvanias suck, but hey, more for you. I'm sure that every Bloodborne fan who said, hey, can we get Bloodborne on not the PS4, is feeling the monkey's paw curl tightly around their leg right now. Kirby Air Ride is funny to me for two reasons. Firstly, because it feels like a real, here nigga damn kind of game, where it's like, fine, you kept asking for it here, take your fucking stupid ass Kirby Air Ride. But also, if this piece of shit was what Sakurai was working on, then that means we're not getting Kid Icarus Uprising 2, and that makes me sad. But hey, what's 17 more years? Donkey Kong looks great. I really hope it's not a Mario Odyssey situation where it's got really good movement, but the gameplay is absolutely fucking worthless because there's nothing to collect or nothing that has any meaning. But Donkey Kong goes, ooh, banana in it, so I think it'll be pretty good. And finally, what I'm going to consider the weekly topic for this week, which is the thing that everybody's talking about, which is the price of the Nintendo Switch 2 and its games. Now, in terms of the actual console, it's $450. I was expecting like $400, but I gave it a margin of error for $50, so $450, that makes sense to me. For everything they're including in the Switch 2, I think that $450 is actually a pretty fair asking price, but I do not feel quite the same way about the games that are on the Switch 2. $70 is already a pretty hard no for me when it comes to game prices nowadays, and that's because I don't think any games deserved it so far. So many things that come out nowadays have so much fucking bloat in their budgets that they don't deserve more money from me if they're not going to actually put more work into the thing. At least more work that should have gone into the thing. But Mario Kart World might have changed my mind. That game looks like it's going to be fucking huge, so I genuinely might not have minded spending $70 on it. I think Mario Kart World deserves the title of first $70 Switch game far more so than Tears of the Kingdom did. Fucking asset swap piece of shit. But unfortunately, Mario Kart World is not $70. It's actually $80 and potentially $90 on physical. I keep hearing a bunch of different people say different things about it, but it's at least $80, which is an even harder no than 70 ever was. There really isn't much to say here. There's no fucking way this game deserves $80 of my money on a console that costs $450. The only 2 cents that I really want to throw in here is that I am insanely curious to see how the Switch 2 will sell on launch, because I can see it going one of two ways. Either A, everybody sees those not everybody, capital G general audiences, TM, see that $450 price tag and then $80 games, and they say, no, I think I'll pass and stick with the Switch 1 for now, because it does the same thing anyway. Or they'll see the $450 price tag, go, yeah, that's fair enough, it's been 8 years since I got a Switch. Pick up the Mario Kart World bundle, or even just one game, and then continue playing all the Switch 1 games on it, not really thinking about how they justify spending $450 on this thing. I've expressed how much I hate general audiences, and those fuckers can be really stupid, but at the same time, they can also be more intelligent than we give them credit for sometimes. They managed to avoid the Wii U like the plague, and the Wii U didn't cost $450, so we'll see. Get out of here.